How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Armored Warfare with Scout. Today we're going to be taking a look at two of my favorite Tier 5 armored fighting vehicles, the BMP-2 and the BMD-2. Now, why are we covering two vehicles in the same video? Well, you know, there's really not a great amount of difference between these two vehicles. Now, this is some of the last of my early access footage, and when this was recorded there were some significant differences between the vehicles, but since then it's all been adjusted, and now in open beta they're really not all that different. Now, there are some differences. The BMP-2, which we're taking a look at here first, has slightly better armor. Now, neither one has much armor to speak of, but the BMP-2 armor is made of steel as opposed to military grade aluminum, so it gets that 1.0 modifier instead of a 0.9. The BMP-2 also has an advantage in terms of DPM. It has slightly better alpha damage and a slightly better reload time, so that gives it the better damage per minute. It's also got a higher top speed, it's got a better base view range, and has a troop compartment instead of a reconnaissance package, so it gets a 25% bonus to its capture rate, as opposed to, I believe it's the 10% that the BMD-2 gets with its reconnaissance package. Significant disadvantages? Not really many. Probably the biggest one in my eyes is gun depression. You get 5 degrees of gun depression with the BMP-2, which is certainly way better than the BMP-1, but not nearly as good as the 10 degrees of depression you get on the BMD-2. You've also got a slower turret traverse, slower reload. Worse accuracy, slower aim time, I should say, not reload. But all in all, again, we're just talking nuances. So what we're doing here in this match here on Ghost Fields, I was trying to get forward and use my better base view range to spot for my team and support this Chieftain Mark V right here next to me. The problem that I have run into is, of course, an enemy Chieftain Mark V right here beside me. And one of the things that neither of these vehicles does particularly well is slugging it out with tanks. But if you're familiar at all with Armored Warfare, you know that. So I don't really want to run off and leave my wingman here, but at the same time this isn't really a good engagement for me. So what I'm going to do is peek the left here. I just want to stick out far enough to try to get an idea of what's on the other side before I go racing around and try to flank. There we go. And of course we spot not only a T-64 who takes a shot at us, I think it is, but oh, here comes problems, another Chieftain. So we put some rounds into him. This was back when you could do a little bit of damage with HEI. Kind of catch him by surprise. He backs up and then you see I'm already turning around. Keep the turret pointed at him. Boom, pop smoke in his face. Break line of sight, and it is time to get out of here. That is just not an engagement that we are ever going to really be able to accomplish anything in. A toe-to-toe slug it out kind of fight with tanks where you can't get around them because their back is covered by their friendly vehicles. Yeah, nothing good's going to come from that. And here you see one of the advantages that the BMP-2 does have over the BMD-2, which is better top speed. You'll note that even though I'm kind of driving like a lunatic, just trying to drive erratically and make sure nobody gets a shot into me as I switch flanks, the BMP-2 is able to move pretty doggone quick. Now, both of these vehicles are fast, but the BMD-2 does have a higher top speed. But again, it's just nuances. It's only higher by about, as memory serves, at least 5, maybe as much as 7 kilometers per hour. So not a huge difference, but it is a little bit, and you'll especially notice that on flat terrain like you saw me traversing just a minute ago. So now we get over here, just that quick we're able to move from the northern flank all the way down here to the southern flank. Trying to use the lower profile nature of the BMP-2 here to provide supporting fire for the tanks and whatnot to my front. Unfortunately, I can't get a clear line of fire. They're not advancing very quickly. I know I've got to push the pace because the northern flank is falling, and as soon as I get that artillery incoming indicator, yeah, we just floor the accelerator. It's time to get over here, and probably up to us to lead the charge. Gonna zoom across this linear danger area. Woo, that was a little bit close. That is why we are moving quickly, and get up here and start acquiring some targets. And now you'll see kind of the other significant advantage I think that the BMP-2 has over the BMD-2 is the higher DPM, the better damage of the vehicle. This 30mm gun, one of the first 30mm you get in Armored Warfare. I think they all start at this tier 5. This vehicle, the BMD-2, I think the Fox has also got a 30mm. Look at the damage it is able to do to that light vehicle, that artillery piece right there. Just chew him up. And now you see our counterpart there. He is in a BMD-2, and we go into this fight knowing that he can't really afford to trade with us. We're both at about the same level of health, so we really don't want to slug it out. But if it comes to that, as long as we make our shots count, we will win that trade because we have a higher alpha damage than the BMD-2. And you're going to see that at work here as we pound him with this 30mm autocannon, and he just, again, can't survive that trade. So we're going to reload. We're going to try to sit here because a little bit of lag. I didn't want to crash, didn't want to move, and unfortunately that cost me. I take a hit from the artillery there, but I want to keep my eye on these swing fires. We want to eliminate them quickly, and look how quickly, again, that 30 might just chews up equal or lower tier armored fighting vehicles. Trying to clear these swing fires out because they have very good view range, and I want them dead before I move down into the cap circle and try to cap. And again, able to secure our 4th kill there. Look how quickly that autocannon chews up these armored fighting vehicles. And you're going to find that this is a pretty good gun for engaging pretty much anything except for main battle tanks. As long as you're shooting at other armored fighting vehicles, and even light tanks until you get to about tier 6, you're going to do significant damage with this gun. Now what you're seeing happening right now is me trying to wedge myself up behind this little intervisibility line here, hide from the tanks that are down in the south, and use my 25% capture bonus to kind of even out the fact that the enemy has 2 vehicles capping. Unfortunately, as you note by the capture rate, it's not quite enough. 2 vehicles will still cap faster than you. And I really kind of wish the M60A3 would come in here and help me cap, but he can't because he's trying to defend me so they don't get up and plant a shot in me. So I don't know, it's kind of a tricky situation here. You also know how quick we were able to chew up that light tank. Again, like we were talking about earlier, it's only a tier 4 Sheridan, and at those lower tiers, man, this gun is extremely effective. So kind of caught in a pickle here. Don't want to go down because I'm the only one capping. Don't want to leave him there by himself because he can't spot that well. Don't want to sit still because there's artillery still in play. So just kind of moving back and forth, trying to spot, trying to provide the best amount of support that I can. Unfortunately, there you see, because the side is angled, we can't penetrate the side of that main battle tank. And so there's not a lot that we can do in that engagement. And unfortunately, now we've got real problems. Enemies behind us. Turn around, spin the gun around, try to get backed up in order to get the gun on him, but it's too late. Swing fire pulls in behind us and is able to eliminate us with an anti-tank guided missile shot. And unfortunately, that leaves the M60A3 here all alone, surrounded. Not really a lot that he's going to do, and we're going to end up taking a loss in this game. But all in all, it was still enjoyable to play. I really had a lot of fun playing this game, and I really think that this particular video shows you guys all of the strengths of the BMP-2. It's higher DPM, it's better top speed, it's better base view range and whatnot. And that's kind of the way that you're going to want to play, I think, the BMP-2 is a supporting role like you saw me doing here. You don't really want to dive in and start chasing people too much until the end of the game, because you really need some space to work, if you will, with this particular vehicle. And you can see that even in a kind of a mediocre game where we were stuck for the first half of it between 2 Chieftain Mark 5s in a hard spot, we were still able to score 2,053 points of damage. Spotted 9 enemy vehicles, killed 5, a third of their team, and finished, as you see here, on the top of the team in pretty much every category, at the top or very near it, no worse than 3rd place, no matter what category you're talking about. So yeah, I think that really shows how competitive the BMP-2 can be as long as you play it intelligently. And I really think it's a fun vehicle, and I enjoy playing it. And you got to give it points for sexy. I think it's the better looking of the 2 vehicles. You may or may not agree, but hey, that's what I think. So yeah, lots of fun with the BMP-2. Let's take a look now at the BMD-2 and see how it stacks up. So here we are on Port Storm with the BMD-2. So what advantages does the BMD-2 have over the BMP-2? Well, like we talked about, it's got better acceleration, right? The BMP-2 has the advantage of top speed, but the BMD-2 accelerates a lot faster. The BMD-2 has better camouflage. We mentioned it has much better gun depression. It's got faster turret traverse. It's got better accuracy and aim time, and it's got the reconnaissance package instead of the troop compartment, which means that you only get a 10% bonus to your base capture speed, but you get an 80-meter bonus to your vision range when you're stationary, which means your base view range when you're stationary in the BMD-2 is 505 meters as opposed to 475 when you're stationary in the BMP-2. So you can see how those kind of work together to make the BMD-2, I don't want to say a lot better, but a little bit better in some circumstances. If you can get it to a bush early or some concealed or covered location and get stationary, you'll spot much better. If you have to react to something very, very quickly, like when we got attacked from behind in the BMP-2 in the previous video, the BMD-2 kind of responds to those situations better because it has better accuracy and better turret traverse, so you can whip it around and react a little bit better. And again, not huge differences, but just little nuanced differences in play style. All in all, very similar. Armament's very similar, guns very similar, just a little bit of difference in how it plays. So what we're trying to do here is get up, use our better view range, and try to spot for our team out in the northwest corner of this map. Didn't run into anybody on this hill, kind of surprising. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit aggressively, try to get up here, spot people to my right, just by proximity if necessary, and not get caught up and exposed on this hill as I slam into that rock you saw right there and damn near fall off the hill. Yeah, that would be bad. Didn't get shot at though, kind of surprising. So since I didn't take any fire, I'm going to go ahead and move back up here and again try to proxy spot the people to my right. And if I get a chance to park it for just a minute, I can activate my reconnaissance package and spot all the way out there into the top left corner. Still, getting proxy spotted in return, no fire from the left, so still feeling pretty safe here, and watch what happens when this guy pulls in front of us. Man, the damage that we are able to rack up with this 30mm gun is significant. Not quite as high damage-wise as the BMP-2, but definitely enough to be competitive. And now here's a BMD-1 came down. Again, they do a big amount of damage if they hit and penetrate, but they have that reload time, whereas with this chain gun, if you have a full magazine when a lower tier armored fighting vehicle pulls in front of you, oh, it's just horrific. You see that we're able to tear apart both of those armored fighting vehicles. So it did cost us a little bit of health. They both hit us, but we've been able to secure two pretty important kills for our team there. Go a long way towards blinding the enemy team. So now we're just going to play it cool, pull back a little bit, try to get stationary without getting stationary in somebody's gun sights, and get some spotting in for our team and just kind of let this develop a little bit. We'd kind of like to go forward and start trying to flank the enemies to our right, but we want to make sure there's nothing out here on the left waiting for us to do so. We also want to make sure that there's nothing about to pull in behind us. I'm very cognizant of that fight developing to our right and the possibility that they may go south and pull in behind us, and when we turn hard right to flank, we may be flanking into nothing. So we're just going to be patient and let this develop for a few minutes. There's that guy off to the left. We knew somebody had to be up there. Really like to eliminate him, but we're seeing the press come down here behind us. So we're going to go ahead and turn around and see if we can't lend some support to the players in the south here. Now remember what I talked about. Both vehicles, the BMP-2 and the BMD-2, not that great for engaging tanks, but when they give you the side and the rear like this, look at the damage we're able to stack up on this enemy tank, I should say. Oh, just unlucky that he was able to get down below that ridge and escape. Otherwise, we would have been able to secure a kill. Same thing's going to happen here. We get stuck in a reload cycle. We start pouring fire into the flank of this tank, just not able to quite finish him. But you see there the damage that this 30mm gun is able to do to the flanks of enemy tanks, assuming you can get a straight shot, like a 90-degree shot into their flank. If they're heavily angled, like you saw in the previous video, you're going to get bounces. But if they're not, you're going to get the results you see here, just tearing up those tanks. And now you see the reaction time of the BMD-2. Look how we use the acceleration, the better turret traverse, and the better aim to outmaneuver this leopard, get away from him. We saw his round impact next to us, even though we weren't quite aware he was behind us at first. And now it's just reaction, acceleration, better accuracy, and better turret traverse. Allow us to put some good damage into that leopard and then get away from him. And our team is able to save us in the end. Probably a fortunate thing. Don't know how that would have ended if I hadn't had some help right there. You'll note that the enemy tank that we were chewing up earlier, I think that was a T-72, complimented us on our play. Sorry, buddy, I wasn't ignoring you. I will get around to saying thank you here in a few minutes, but I was busy in the fight at this point trying to chase down this Sheridan. And once again, able to chew up a light tank because he's a tier lower than us. The times that's not going to work so well for you is if you're engaging, say, a VFM-5. I can't think of one of the others off the top of my head right now, but there are some light tanks you guys are familiar with, you probably know, that do have some armor. And if you get them in like a head-on engagement where their armor is actually effective, your 30mm will have some problems penetrating their armor. Also, specifically right off the top of my head, the Bradley. If the Bradley is head-on to you, you will have some problems going through his front. But again, like I talked about, those are your tier 6 vehicles where you start running into problems with this gun. But chewing up light tanks, tier 4 like that, no problem. Gun is effective. And you've always got your ATGMs if you just have to stand off and shoot if there are lots of tanks on the opposing team. You see here again the acceleration. Look at the BMD-2, how quickly it picks up speed as we race over here. Try to get a part of this kill. Unfortunately not quite fast enough, but just that quick, this game is over. And I think you're going to see by the scores that if you play it appropriately, you can get some really impressive results in either one of these two vehicles, really. So here we have the results from that battle on Port Storm. 3,032 points of damage, including a huge chunk from that T-72. 3 kills, 3 assists, and as near as damn it to 1,600 base XP. I mean, that's just, you cannot be unhappy with that game. And yeah, again, something that you can do in either one of these two vehicles. Really, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between the two of them. There's some nuanced differences, yes, but I don't think this is really a discussion between which of these two vehicles you want most, as much as it is a discussion between which tree do you want to end up in the most, i.e. down at tier 9, tier 10, which vehicle do you want? Because between these two vehicles, they're pretty even, and they're both a lot of fun, and I enjoy them both. So that's it, folks. That's my verdict on these two vehicles. I hope you found the video useful. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. More Armored Warfare action soon to come. We'll see you next time.